Tyrese Haliburton and Jalen Brunson are two of the fastest rising point guards in the NBA, both getting the opportunity to lead a team after getting out of the shadow of another ball-dominant guard, and both have thrived. However, what we've seen in recent months as they both ascend to all-star or near all-star level is a lot of debate between fans, particularly fans of the Pacers and the Knicks, as to who the better player is. With the conversation igniting once again as Brunson drew the first start for the FIBA national team during the preliminaries, and Haliburton on the bench. Most arguments online have been purely emotional based, picking the guy who they like more or the guy that plays for their team. So for that purpose, we're going to look at the comparison today with as unbiased eyes as possible and give it a look objectively through measurable abilities, traits, and achievements. The NBA coaches and media members seem to believe that Tyrese did have the slight advantage at the All-Star break, as he was selected to be an All-Star and Brunson was not, much to the disappointment of Wally Szczerbiak. However, Brunson did lead his team to the playoffs and put up good numbers while Haliburton was at home, so the debate is by no means set in stone. But with all that, let's get into the player comparison and see who truly is the better player for both now and the future. Firstly, shooting. This one's actually really close between the two. Their percentages are very comparable, and in my opinion, they're both basically knockdown shooters. In Brunson's case, he does a lot of his shooting off the dribble, either as an ISO player or coming off screens. This most recent season, he had his best shooting season from beyond the arc, shooting over 41% on 4.7 attempts. He has a smooth left-handed release and looks the part of a major shooting threat. It's hard to criticize him at all much here, but when you're comparing two players at this level, you have to nitpick a bit, and to me, Brunson's off-ball movement and range are by no means bad at all. They're both good, in fact, but they aren't as good as Haliburton's. Even with such a weird shot, Tyrese knocks down most of his looks at a great rate. He can do all the same things Brunson can do, like coming off screens, pull-up jumpers, self-creation in the mid-range, etc. But while I would argue that when it comes to creativity and getting shots off, Brunson has that edge, but Tyrese has the edge in more categories. Firstly, his percentages. Brunson beat him out this past season in base three-point percentage by a little bit, but the long-term track record still favors Tyrese. Haliburton has never shot less than 40% from three, and that's even with his volume increasing significantly over the most recent season, shooting 7.2 threes a game, much higher than Brunson's 4.7 attempts. On advanced stats, which I tend to not rely on all that much, but they do provide valuable insight on occasion, since joining the Pacers, Tyrese's true shooting percentage has been around 63%, while Brunson's is around 59% over that same time span, more indicating Tyrese's edge on efficiency. If Brunson's volume increases next year to a similar level to Tyrese and he maintains his 40% efficiency, he'll have a better argument, but as of now, this category goes to Tyrese Haliburton. Now on to shot creation. Where I think Jalen Brunson creates a bit of separation here is the fact that his footwork is just fantastic. That's really the biggest differentiator in his game over other players. You can see it very clearly in the clips. Brunson's ability to create for himself is next level. There's a rare degree of craftiness in his game that you just don't see. He utilizes the pivot foot to perfection, and his step-through game is just phenomenal. It makes him a massive threat in the ISO game because with the mix of body fakes and pivots, it makes it really difficult for a defender to stick with him. Not to mention he has a great crossover and a great step back. Tyrese, on the other hand, is by no means weak here either. He employs a good number of dribble moves to free up space, and while he isn't as quick as Brunson, his length presents its own challenges for opposing defenders to deal with. He's creative and shifty, and absolutely doesn't struggle to be able to create open looks for himself. All in all, though, in this category, Brunson does have the advantage. His quickness and variety of moves to free himself up to get shots off is just a little bit more dynamic. Now on to finishing. Much like in the shot creation portion of his game, Brunson utilizes his creativity incredibly well as a finisher at the rim. When he gets to the rim where he lacks in size, he makes up in positioning and finishing ability. You see when he gets downhill, he just knows how to avoid getting blocked, putting up shots high off the glass, and contorting his body to avoid shot blockers. As for Tyrese, he scores on the inside a bit differently than Brunson. He's a bigger guard, so he doesn't have to avoid defenders as much. He has the ability to go into them, and like Brunson, has the ability to adjust on contact and finish. He definitely utilizes his length more to get up above the rim, and while he isn't an elite athlete, he is quick and can get to the rim and finish. The edge here does go to Brunson though. I think he is just slightly better at finding ways to get to the rim and to finish through defenders. Next, playmaking. So there's a pretty clear winner here. Brunson has done a pretty good job as a passer, taking over the lead guard role in New York. He has good vision, hits players when they're open, and just is generally a good passer. 6.2 assists on 2.1 turnovers is by no means terrible. Tyrese Haliburton, though, is legitimately a top 3, probably a top 2 passer in the NBA right now. Slightly more turnovers at 2.5, so a negligible amount, but 10.4 assists, good for what would have been the number 2 in the league behind James Harden if Haliburton qualified. He barely missed making the list due to being out too many games due to injury. But compared to the other players in that range of assists, much more efficient. Jokic, Trae Young, James Harden all averaged over 9.5 assists like Haliburton, but also average around 3.5 turnovers, and in Trae Young's case, over 4. Tyrese is significantly better at avoiding bad passes than the other top assisters, and has what I would argue is the second best court vision in the whole league behind Jokic. And I just want to reiterate that this was his first full season as a lead guard doing this, with players who generally weren't all that great at finishing on his roster. As the Pacers improve and he gets more and more comfortable running an offense with experience, we could see elite assist numbers, possibly up into 13 plus a game during his prime. So yes, in conclusion, Tyrese takes this category over Jalen Brunson. Now when it comes to defense, we have to be totally honest and say this is neither player's strong suit. I do think there's a winner here though. Starting out with Brunson, what you can say is that he works hard on the defensive end. He takes a lot of charges and rotates quickly. If he's paired with a good defender like Emmanuel Quickley or Quentin Grimes, he looks alright because of his effort level, and he isn't so bad to where he can't be masked by a good defender. However, he does struggle in one-on-one defense. A lot of where his shortcomings come is from his size. It's just very difficult to contest opponents being 6'1". Opposing guards don't really have a big issue beating him off the dribble or shooting over the top of him, and he isn't really a steals guy either. He never wants to average over a steal in a game in his career. Haliburton isn't all that fantastic either, but he has shown some good defensive flashes, and he has the physical traits that raise his ceiling here to a higher level than what Brunson has. Like Brunson, Tyrese does a good job playing defense within a team, but he also gets beat off the dribble. While Brunson gets beat due to his lack of height, Tyrese gets beat due to his below average strength. Stronger guards can get around him relatively easily. I do give Haliburton the edge here though, because I think he provides value in one defensive category Brunson does not, and that's steals. Tyrese is actually pretty good in the passing lanes. He's a top 10 steals per game guy if he qualified for the steals leaderboard, and his steal rate was 14th in the league. Based on his production there, I feel it's enough to give him the edge in this category. Career accolades. This one is closer than many would have you believe. Both are relatively new to stardom, so they're both short on individual accolades. Haliburton in the NBA has an all-rookie first-team appearance and one all-star appearance, while Brunson has neither. However, with Brunson, he can claim that he has been to the playoffs and done well there, both as a second option for Luka and then as the leader of the Knicks. Tyrese has not made the playoffs yet and has played on teams that have been pretty bad for the most part. Now, the argument can be made, and it's probably a valid one, that before his injury this past season, the Pacers were squarely in the playoffs with Tyrese leading the ship. Then after he got hurt, they fell off a cliff. This is true, however, that doesn't make the point that he has yet to make a postseason appearance, while Brunson has put together great playoff performances any less of a valid point. Not really relevant to his NBA comparison, but Brunson also has 2 NCAA championships, indicating that he's just a winner. We haven't seen that from Tyrese yet, even if I believe he can get there. As of now, I give slightly more weight to Brunson's team achievements than I do Haliburton's individual ones, so Brunson gets the edge here. In conclusion, 3 categories went to Tyrese and 3 categories went to Brunson. This is pretty reflective of how close they really are when it comes to current ability, and what it comes down to is who would you rather have? Brunson is a break down the defense ISO player who is really a score first player even when playing the point guard position. Though he has the ability to set players up, it isn't his strongest suit. Haliburton, on the other hand, has the ability to score in a number of different ways, but he really is a natural true point guard in every sense of the word. It makes everyone around him better. The Pacers generally were low on talent last year other than a few decent players, but a lot of guys had career years with Haliburton feeding them. This was reflective in how much better the Pacers were with him on the court. He's a fast break, get up and down type of player, whereas Brunson seems more a home in the half court, setting up the offense. As of now, and maybe this is the cop-out answer, but they're nearly dead even, and again, at this present moment, who you consider to be the better player really depends on the player you want and what kind of offensive system you're running. The real difference is who you want to build your team around long term. To me, This one's a pretty firm conclusion. I'm taking Tyrese Haliburton long term. And before Knicks fans come at me, this is no slight on Brunson at all. It just comes down to potential. Tyrese is currently 3 years younger than Brunson as a 23-year-old, where Brunson's 26, and by the end of August, Brunson's going to be 27, so basically 4 years younger than Jalen Brunson. At that same age that Tyrese is now, Brunson was averaging 8 points a game. Brunson has improved a good deal since then, but he is almost certainly approaching his prime now as a 26-year-old. He will continue to be great throughout his prime in my opinion, but his top end ceiling is unlikely to be much higher than it is now. Tyrese has so much in his game that indicates that he's just going to get better and better. You give him a real elite running mate and efficient role players around him, along with just continued improvement into his prime, which he has yet to hit, and we could be seeing a player who has the potential to be the best point guard in the NBA, or at least in the conversation for that. He just has that perennial all-star ceiling that Brunson hypothetically could hit, but it's just based on a couple of factors I outlined, is much less likely. So, final conclusion, right now, a draw. For the future, Tyrese Haliburton. But with that, we come to the conclusion of this video. As always, I really appreciate anyone who stuck around all the way to the end. If you enjoy this content, even if you don't agree with my conclusions, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe, as there's more content like this coming in the future. I do a lot of player profiles and rankings, so if that's your type of thing, I think you would enjoy my content. This is the first video where I've done a one-on-one player comparison, and it was one of the more fun videos I've worked on to make. I would love to make it a series if there's interest in that, but with all that, that will conclude this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hey, thanks again for watching this video. If you like what you saw, go ahead and click on one of these videos here to see more.